start the February 25th Buildings and Grounds meeting. And we're going to start off by going on a field trip, and then we'll see our new aquaponics and hydroponics down in the science one.
All right.
Okay.
So if you're watching, we're gonna be going offline, but we will be back.
Start to look at it, I should say. I found my paper. So, sure, you take it away.
Hi, I'm Jim. Caitlin's here as well. Caitlin's been working on a lot of the drawings and the progress you're going to see tonight. I guess I get to talk more and take credit for it, but Caitlin's doing most of the work. We wanted to give you an update on the middle school auditorium. The task here is to completely renovate that room. It is old and out of date as far as the systems that are in it and the finishes as well. Also related to part you don't see is the HVAC system. So it is a complete rebuild of that space, both the auditorium and the stage. So we're going to show you some images of what it looks like now versus what we're proposing it to look like. We are currently we just finished our design development stage, so we've sort of defined the scope of the work, and we have a budget for that we're going to share tonight. And the next is all the technical drawings. So we have a theater consultant and a mechanical and electrical consultant that are doing all the engineering related to the systems that are going in here. So this slide here is when you first come in the room, either on the left side or the right side, this is your view. One of the things that really stands out is the two poles that are in front of you. Those are the volleyball standards with lights on them, which was clearly defined as one of the big problems that there's a functional problem with the lighting in here. Also, the look of it, it's a dated look. We definitely need to improve that. But we're also looking at accessibility. There's some accessibility issues in here. We want to make sure that when we redesign it, we're accommodating all the students, all the visitors that would come into this building to use the space. So that same view, this is what we're proposing. First thing you notice is those light poles are gone because we're finding a place for the lights elsewhere within the space. And adding new theatrical lighting, a new sound system for the space, and also new rigging. So there's quite a bit of infrastructure that's going into this redesign. You're seeing sort of the cosmetic result of what it looks like, but this is all the state-of-the-art theatrical systems.
It looks like there are less seats there. Is that not correct?
That's not correct, but we'll get to the seat count in a little bit. This is the view from the back. In the back, there's tiered seating. Here's what it's proposed to look like. One of the key elements is we're moving the sound and lighting control, which is right now on the tiered steps in the back. Two problems with that is it's too small to fit the equipment that needs to go on there, and it's in an inaccessible location. So moving it down to the main aisle, we can make it the right size and we can make it accessible so that anybody can use the system.
How is it inaccessible up there on the top?
It's only steps to get up to it. So anybody that has any disability can't have access to the controls.
Okay.
So the controls are gonna go on that table there?
Yeah, right. The
Is that
controls there'll be a lighting console and a sound console. They're both right now. You only the console at the top is about 4 feet wide. It only fits one of those two main panels.
Is that gonna block the view of people sitting?
No.
No, okay.
Here's a view from the side of the front of the stage. One of the things to note is at some point the first row of seats were taken out of the auditorium. We've talked to the end users, the chorus teacher, band, theater program said, hey, let's put those seats back in the front. This number of seats is more valuable than the space, which was probably taken out for the orchestra. But the orchestra does all fit on the stage, so that really helped us with the seat count. Here's the view from the stage. Here's what it will look like. One of the big things to note here is at the back, right now, there's a folding partition, which was designed so that the back could be a lecture hall. Those folding partitions don't really work anymore, and the space doesn't get used that way. So the part of the design is to get rid of those altogether. And right now you can see on both sides, there's two single doors, because there was a door to come into the auditorium, there was a door to come into the lecture area. Once it's one room, we don't need that anymore, and we're actually gaining that space to move those lights that were on the floor in the way up into a space that's dedicated for lighting. So we're gonna have theatrical lights on the side there. There's still a double door to come into the space on both sides. So we still have plenty of good access and egress from this space, but we're getting the lights into a much better spot in the room.
So the lights you're talking about are those boxes in the back?
Right, so there's an elevated floor here. That's basically where the partitions were. There was a big notch in there now. We're taking over that space and getting the lights up off the floor.
So you're keeping the white lights on the sidewall?
There's gonna be lights still on the side. There's gonna be lights, the theatrical consultant is recommending that we put a row of lights across the front of the auditorium to really hit the front of the stage. One of the things that's really lacking lighting wise is light to the front edge of the stage.
From the ceiling?
From the ceiling. So there's gonna be a bar that goes across the ceiling, most likely is gonna light the front of the stage.
That'd be most likely.
So here's a plan. We have developed this all in Revit, our 3D software. And that's very useful for our engineers. It's gonna be modeled by our acoustical consultant to help us design the acoustic treatments in this room. That's really the force system, sort of passive system. You don't see is all the acoustic treatments go into this room to make it the sound quality appropriate for the functions that are going in there. So there'll be different acoustical treatments on the side walls, the back wall, the ceiling. We look at the floor, we look at the seating, and they design the acoustics to match the room. The seat count is at the bottom here. We are at 406 seats. Right now there are 400 seats. So we actually gained a few seats in the space, not a lot. And that was while we are still providing all the accessibility we need. You can see along the back of the main aisle, there are spots there with the handicap symbol. So there's spots there for the necessary number of accessible seats that we need in the space. And we still, because we filled in where the sound control booth was up on the top, we gained seats back there and we gained the row of seats in the front. So we netted out +6.
So I'm looking at the hallways on the sides. Did you put another set of doors in there and move them down to the middle from the top? That doesn't look like what I remember. You know, the hallway on the outside of the stage,
Mm-hmm.
looks like you got doorways in the middle of that hallway. On each side.
Oh,
Are they there now?
yeah, they're there now. They might be propped open most of the time, but
They're
they're there.
partly down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you only got 6 more seats when there's a whole row that you're putting back in. So
Yeah,
I'm just,
the accessible, the lighting desk, the control desk, and those accessible seats, they eliminate several
Okay.
other seats. Now, if you have a performance and you're not using all those, you can always fill them in with fold-up chairs and increase your seat count. But that's something that's hard to plan for. You really don't know who's gonna show up until
Right.
they show up. You might only need 2 of those, and then there's space for additional seats. But for planning purposes, this is what's required. This is what we have to show. We have a bunch of drawings, just showing you some of them. This is showing the interior elevations of all the treatments on the walls. And then the budget. So we have on the top the different categories of parts of the renovation and what they cost. The total construction cost, in the white box there, that's $3.5 million. And that includes the theatrical rigging system, the theatrical lighting, the sound system. Those are systems that aren't in a lot of your other spaces in a school. So that's $1.1 million for those specialized systems. That's how we get this construction cost. The way this will be bid is there'll be three prime contracts. We'll have a general contractor that'll do most of the work. We have a mechanical contractor who's going to be doing the HVAC work. And then there'll be an electrical contractor that's doing the house lighting, theatrical lighting, sound system.
The HVAC replacements,
Excuse me?
what is that?
HVAC, so there are multiple units on a mezzanine, on the second floor adjacent to the auditorium. Those are being replaced in this
And they're
project.
compatible with the chiller that's over there?
Mhm.
Is that chiller gonna be enough? Are these units bigger than the ones that are there, smaller?
They're approximately same size. The engineers have looked at it.
Better than approximately.
There's enough space on that mezzanine for the units that are gonna be placed.
So what you're gonna bid out?
Yeah.
It's not the minimum.
No, the units are designed for this space to work with your existing plant. It is a 1-for-1 replacement, but it is a modern unit in replacement. There's a unit for the auditorium, there's a unit for the stage. Both of those get replaced.
There's three units there.
Yeah.
First and third unit.
For the upper part.
Huh?
For the upper part.
2 units.
There's the, like the lecture hall, because it was originally a separate room, they had a separate unit for that. We're still gonna have 3 units to replace it. In theory, you could replace 2 with 1, but it's a bigger footprint and we're really working with the room you have. So the unit replacements go 1-for-1 and they fit within the space you have. So when we did this project, the $3.5 million, that's the price that we're looking to see for the contractors, but that doesn't encapsulate all the costs on a project. There, we have below that a construction contingency. You always want to plan for unknowns, so there's a 5% contingency, and then there's your soft cost that we budget at 13%, and that gets you to $4.2 million. That's the number that the board should budget for the project. This is a conservative budget, but for planning purposes, that's where we think you should plan on. Obviously, we strive to do everything we can to get the cost down, and we still are developing the design. But at this point in the design, this we think is an accurate cost assessment for the project.
Where is your fee in there?
We are in that 13% for the soft costs.
Okay, what about the construction management or the actual construction overseeing, whatever you want to call it?
There's not a plan to have a construction management firm hired for this project. Our services include full construction administration, so we are still involved throughout the construction, dealing with the contractors, reviewing all the submittals, RFIs, ASIs, change orders, all of that we handle. Certainly, if the district wanted to have a construction manager, you could hire one for this. I don't think that's the plan.
I'm more concerned about the cost, so that is all within the 30.
That's an all-in cost. Our contract with the district is full service through construction. Okay.
And yours is a percentage of the construction cost?
Yes. No, it's actually a fixed fee on this.
Okay.
So our fee is known. It's not going to change moving forward. Just a quick basic schedule. Right now, as I said, we started our construction document phase this week. So that will proceed into the end of April. The plan is to go out to bid at the end of April. There's two scheduled dates here in yellow that are important. The May 27th is committee meeting. If the bid results would be presented to this committee, oftentimes that happens, then the recommendation goes to the board. And we saw on the calendar, there's a board meeting on June the 3rd. There's another one, I think, on the 17th. And that's when we would look for the board to approve the bids, assuming everything is acceptable to the district. And then construction would start in July and run through the end of the year. This is basically 6 months to renovate the room. We've already talked to the administration about that next fall, that room would not be available for academic programs or after-school activities.
So you're renovating here.
Question?
I'm gonna say we, but how has the people over at the middle school been involved in this rendering, the ideas that you put forth, with the lighting systems, the sound systems, the acoustic?
Carl, Gary, and Brittany, the music director, and myself. Because of the access for the, I want to mention about the access for the handicap access to the elevator in there.
So, as we said, we want to provide full accessibility for this space. And one of those key components is a lift. We're showing a lift here in the corner that would go from the main floor up onto the stage. Right now, anybody with a disability has to leave the auditorium, go down in the hallway, and to get to the stage through the side door. Accessibility code really says you should be able to go from the room up onto the stage. So this is attempting to meet that requirement. It is tight, but it does fit. Ideally, we'd have a ramp, but a ramp takes up way too much space. It would take away a whole side stage. And we really thought it's best to put in the lift and preserve the stage right and stage left for equipment and kids and things that happen up there. Plus, this space is also used as a educational space during the day. So again, we didn't want to take away a big chunk of that for a ramp. The lift is just much more efficient.
So the lift is actually on the stage?
The lift is in that corner. We notch out a piece of the stage and put the lift in so you can go from the lower floor, so the orchestra level, up to the stage level.
And how does somebody a handicapped person get to that level? The floor?
The room itself, the auditorium itself, there's ramps, sloped ramps on both sides and the center that you can come down to the front, and then you go over. It's open to that area.
If you come
to
down
get to the left.
side where the ramps are now, how do you get to the area with a wheelchair? Just down through the center?
You can come down the center, you can come down the side, and just come over here and onto the lift and up. This is all open to the rest of the room.
It's very similar to the high school, our auditorium here, where we had that right on the side, we had the lift.
Do we have a lift?
Oh, yeah. That was mandatory when renovation was
So we're
built.
from the south side?
I don't know stage left and right, but facing the stage, it's on the right-hand side.
They usually have seats sitting there.
Are you in reference to the lighting? I assume this lighting systems we have today are standard, old school lighting, and you're gonna be switching over to LED.
Yeah.
Calculations in reference to BTUs, because that would be a huge amount of air conditioning needed for cooling the old lighting systems? Are you increasing the lighting system to the point where it's a 1-for-1, or there's gonna be a surplus of BTU cooling because
So-
of reductions?
So your cooling load will decrease because the lights, the LED lights do not generate near the amount of heat that the current lights do.
Correct.
And so the engineers are sizing the unit accordingly. That makes some difference, honestly, not that much in the scheme of heating that volume of space or cooling that volume of space.
I've worked in other areas where it's tonnage of difference, like 2 to 3 tons.
So the engineer's taking that into account.
Right.
What you're really gonna see is, it's a lot less energy. The LED lights are gonna just use far less power than the current lights do. And the current lights are very outdated. You can't get parts for them. The bulbs are very expensive. They're very dangerous to change. Whereas the LED lights, you really don't change them. There is adjustment. So somebody has to go up and adjust the lights. We've talked to our theater consultant. We're gonna put the main lighting bars on a motorized lift so that they can be dropped down so that nobody has to get on a ladder to adjust the lights. You drop it to the floor, make your adjustments, run it back up. And part of that was on the stage, there's no space for fly rigging. We can't have rigging come down to the floor. You just don't have the space for that. So the solution is motorize those electrics on the stage and just drop them down. And the bar that would go across the main auditorium across the front, that would be on the lift as well.
So you say you're sizing the capacity to it. So the HVAC unit is sized for the capacity plus 2% of adults on a 100-degree day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hold you to that.
Okay.
Is your presentation completed?
Yeah.
Okay, so a question I have is, are you able to supply us with any options?
I guess it's possible to reduce the amount of systems, and that's, we're waiting to see, we got our first package from our theater consultant with the lighting, and that's really where we can modulate the amount and the cost. He's gonna provide us with 2 different amounts, like here's the minimum, and then here's maybe better the ideal. Those lights are expensive. And so we are probably gonna isolate 10 or 12 fixtures on that list and say, this will work without them, it'll work better with them. And that's gonna come down to where the board and the budget come in at. You know, we can vary that. The real issue though is you need a new sound system, you need a new lighting system, you need new rigging, you need new seats, and you need new finishes. So it's difficult to say any of those systems can go away. We can modulate the amount of lights. And then one of the other things we talked about is with the sound system, there's bells and whistles that can be on the sound system. The teachers love the idea of being able to have a video broadcast to the adjacent music rooms, so they could use the music rooms as a green room, know what's going on in the auditorium, see it live, and cue the kids to come on. That's great, but we're gonna identify that as a nice to have. You don't need it, but if you can afford it and it fits in your budget, great. So there's a little bit of flexibility with these theater systems, but it's not dramatic.
I'm wondering probably there may, I'm sorry, if there's sort of variability too in the seat selections.
Yeah, that was my question.
I
Well,
would think.
That's where I was getting at, is
Like,
like, you're absolutely right, when you have all these things to do, you know, you don't have a whole lot of flexibility, but anybody that's made any renovations to anything whatsoever knows that there's always options in quality, material, so forth. So you know, and obviously we want something that's gonna, you know, last and, you know,
Right.
none of us, at least I don't think, you know, would wanna be looking to cheap out and, you know, then have to redo, you know, any part of this or the whole thing in any near future. In the same token, when I'm just hit with, oop, here's a budget, you know, and there's no options or anything whatsoever, well, I don't know if you're sort of factoring in the absolute Cadillac version here, or, you know, if there's any flexibility in the middle. I also want to keep in mind that it's a middle school, and I'm not trying to play down anything like that. I want them to have the best equipment that's going to last. I want the space to be, you know, great, but I also need to be able to justify, you know, to the taxpayers that we looked at all reasonable options
Sure.
and then made the appropriate decision. So that's what I'm just interested in seeing.
Yeah, we can certainly come back to you with more options like that. I didn't really mention it, but from a price perspective, we're in the middle. This isn't a Cadillac design. This is a middle school. You know, we factor that in when we're talking about what's the right lighting system and sound system for a middle school auditorium. I've been stressing to the designers, I want to make sure we get a system for the district that's simple and easy to use. So that no matter who walks in the room, hit one button, hit two buttons, and the basics work. The theater consultant can come in and they can play with all the bells and whistles of the sound and lighting system, that's great. But have an auditorium, I want the superintendent to be able to walk in a room. No, I push this button, I turn this on, okay, the microphones work and the video projection works and we're good to go. So we're really approaching it as a middle of the road. The seats are a good example. You see here we have a budget, second line item on there is 406 seats, $200 a seat, $81,000. There are seats that are $400. There's probably seats that are $170. We think you want to be, you know, one of the keys to us is we want upholstered seats. And the real reason for that is the acoustics. Right now you have hardback seats. They're not the most comfortable in the world. Okay, so what? You know, you can not be that comfortable. But what the acoustics matter with the seats, you can balance the room with the sound system for performance because the upholstered seats act just like when there's bodies in the room and people have clothes on. Whereas if you try to set the sound up with the room empty and hard seats, it sounds different. And so it just really replicates what it's gonna sound like when you're using the space to have the upholstered seats, and they're more comfortable. So that's a good example. There's cheaper seats, like that $81,000 could come down to $70,000. But it's gonna make a small impact on your 4.5. I think there's wiggle room. I just want to tell you, I don't think there's like, you're not going to cut 30% out of this project and make it work. It's going to need a certain amount to function.
And then the time frame that you have in there, it seems to me to be a little bit aggressive that, and you're gonna know this a lot better than me, so, you know, correct me, but I would think, for especially the scope of the work, this is not gonna be any small project for any of the contractors to take on, that they're not gonna know that they've got full approval, even if, you know, basically within a month, they need to be able to start the project. So, I mean, how realistic is that you're gonna get high-quality vendors that are gonna be able to start a project of this scope in that short a period of time?
It is aggressive schedule, and part of that is we don't want to take up this room for a whole school year if we don't have to. We are moving a music education out of this space to somewhere else in the building for the time it takes to renovate this. So we are purposely trying to keep a very tight construction timeline. As far as procurement, that's always an issue. Probably the biggest issue is those mechanical units. They're going to take 6 to 8 weeks from when they order them to when they show up. And that's not the first thing they need. They gotta rip the old ones out, modify everything, get it ready for the new unit. But yeah, we're gonna need to get those approved in June so that by October, they can go in. The other components that we're concerned about are some of the electrical specialized control boxes for that lighting and sound system. They're very proprietary. During COVID, it was a complete nightmare with these systems. It was over a year to get some of these boxes because of the chips that were in them. That's improved dramatically, but it's still a significant lead time. So we know that there are these items that we have to, when we award this contract, we call the contractor and say, all right, let's get that submittal in for these components and get those approved so that they are here in time to meet this construction schedule.
And, you know, part of what I wondered, although this has been, you know, something that's taken a long time and would have been nice to have been done, you know, a couple of years ago, is there any thought that we should be shifting the time frame for the construction so that we're able to utilize more of the summer season? I don't really
Yeah.
like this idea, but just say, hey, this is gonna start in, say, May, you know, and that way you get most of the school year. You just, you know, can't use the auditorium for the end of the year, and then you've got all of June, July, and August full
Right.
bore.
Ideally, we'd be having this discussion a few months ago. That's just not the way the cards fell. You know, when the district hired us and got started on this, we've been actively working on this, but we're tight to this timeline. We've talked about, hey, do you want to give up the fall or do you want to give up the spring? Because the other option is, yes, give them more time. You could award the contracts this summer and say, hey, you're not really starting on this till December, right? Then you have all that procurement time to get everything ready. Still have the same amount of construction time. But when we talked to administration, the preference was, no, let's sacrifice the fall rather than the spring. So I think that's still an open discussion. You know, it may be in the district's best interest to push the construction till later. I don't think you should slow down getting all the drawings done and getting this out to bid. What you want to play with is when do you actually do the construction? We also have to get a building permit and go through, you know, township for that, and sometimes that's easy and sometimes it's not. So,
Oh, it'll be easy here.
yes. I've had mixed results, depending on the municipality.
Scott, a question.
Make sure you put in plantings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, as far as the staging, will that include the curtains and will that include like a screen that'll come down?
Yes.
You got that all
So
included in that?
Yeah, the rigging, when I talk about the rigging system, that's all the curtains, front curtains, side curtains, back curtains, battens in the middle to hang scenery on. It's the battens that the lights hang on. So all of that is rigging. Whether it be for curtains, scenery, or lights.
And then the instrument section that they have now, is that still storage back in there? That's still there?
Yes.
There's been over the years discussion about space for instrument storage. That's off to the side at the back there. That's not changing.
No, we really aren't changing any of the space on the stage left or stage right, other than that little square space for the lift.
Because that would have been moving walls, like this doesn't move walls.
It is a middle school size auditorium. It's not large. There's not extra space. It's some, you know, sort of the minimum. We'd love to put more seats in. We'd love to put a ramp in, but
The stage deck.
this is what works with what you have.
I think so.
Are we replacing the stage decking?
That was the one thing we looked at and said, we think the oak floor that's on there is fine. We can refinish it, but we don't really see a need to replace it. If it was a high school stage with dramatic performance on it, we would probably want a black plywood floor that you can nail into and have it sacrificial. But middle school, mostly the stage is musical performances, and that wood floor is fine for that. So, you know, there's one example of, hey, we could have, say, replaced the floor, but honestly, I don't think you need to spend dollars on that.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I guess we'll need some direction though in that conversation about timing, right? Like, are we good? I just didn't feel there was resolution to that part of it. Are we?
Oh, I didn't know there was a question.
Oh, I heard a question about fall or spring. Am I the only one that's wondering if that was
We'll
resolved?
do it in the fall because it's gonna take till spring.
Okay, so we stick with the
Yeah.
project schedule as presented?
Well, I mean, my own personal feeling, you know, this is the first that I've seen this or anything else. I haven't been privy to any of the conversations with any administration or whatnot. So, you know, I agree with you. I think we continue with the plans, we continue with the, you know, with the bidding. And then I think we can discuss it even further, you know, further then. Does it still make sense? Are we hearing from, first of all, how many bids did we get? Where is this really coming in at? I mean, I've got to be honest with you, that is a lot to swallow, $4 million for an auditorium.
Not including change orders.
So, yeah, so, you know, first of all, we've got to fully swallow that, but part of it's going to be seeing what, if any, options, you know, you can give us, seeing what the bids come in at, and then, you know, I'll be interested to see with the bids that come in, if there's any communication as far as, hey, could you actually get this thing started within 30 days? And is it realistic to get it done in that time frame? And I think, you know, as a board and a district, we're just going to need, we can sort of say this is what we're aiming for, but I would hope that we would be smart enough that as time goes on, we make adjustments as, you know, makes common sense.
Right, so we will go back and we will work on getting you some alternates to adjust the budget, give you viable system changes you could make, right? We'll work on that. And certainly, I think we need to continue the discussion about the schedule. And, you know, let's be realistic. It's tight now. This works if everything goes according to plan. That doesn't always happen. And certainly, we should think about the contingency. You know, what if this has to stretch to the spring? I always think it's good to run through all the scenarios that could come up, so you're planned and you know what to do when it does happen. As far as the comment about the change orders on our budget, we have a construction contingency at 5%. That's accounting for change orders. We rarely see change orders get to 5%, but for budgeting purposes, it makes sense. So this budget it's trying to give you a picture of all in. This is what you could have to spend on this project. Ideally, you don't spend that much, but when you're talking about borrowing money, putting out a bond, however you're gonna pay for this, or you're taking it out of your capital reserves, this is the budget you should plan for. And then if it comes in less, great.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'd rather, you know, I'd rather plan for the worst,
Yeah.
you know, and prosper, so.
Is it worth putting something in the contract of penalties for completion date?
We do include those often. It's challenging to enforce. I guess a fair way to look at it is if you're gonna give a penalty, you have to give a reward.
Okay, if you get done by the end of August, they get a.
If you get done early, we'll pay you more, and if you get done late, you owe us money. That's a fair arrangement. Then sometimes construction delays are not the fault of the contractor.
They always say that.
They always say that. It's sometimes
It's
true.
Yeah.
Tis true.
Association will always shape it out.
Yeah. We work in the public bid environment. We've done literally hundreds of public bid projects for public school districts. We know the players, we know the game. we know the process. We're here to help you navigate through that. All these speed bumps you're talking about, yes, we've gone through it many times.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the next thing would be the committee meeting next month.
Yeah, so I have the committee recommends proceeding with the schedule as presented, recognizing adjustments may need to be made based on the bid process and timeline. KCBA recommends continuing conversation about the construction schedule and will develop alternates and contingency plans.
So they're still gonna get the bid packages ready in a month?
That seems,
The end of April.
April, yeah,
Okay,
so we would see you back when?
We can come back whenever you need us, honestly. And it might make sense to touch base before we go out to bid.
So our meeting in March? Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Or we have our March meeting is March 25th. I mean, this meeting next month is March 25th.
Yeah, we can be here, sure.
Good.
A lot of times, you're gonna want reassurance. We're ready to go out to bid. Should we go out to bid? Yes. You aren't committing any money until after the bid's received and you vote to say, yes, we're gonna award these contracts. So that's right now in June. And you can always, at that point, say, no, we're not gonna award these contracts. You're not obligated, once you bid it, to do it. It's really your choice. We'll see where the numbers come in. It might come in right where you want it. It might come in high and you say, no, we're not doing that right now. Or let's rethink this and change what we're doing and we'll bid it again. You have options between now and when the construction starts to keep adjusting this process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
thanks.
Thank you. Gary's up next.
I'm here.
Hi, Gary.
Hello. So, I was supposed to be coming to you with a bid or a quote from Starlight. They did not get me a quote before today, even though they promised they would. So I do not have a quote from Starlight. I still have the quote from Blue Chip Sound and Lighting. And I guess my question is, do you want me to proceed with just going with Blue Chip, or do you want me to wait for the quote from Starlight? They promised me that they'd have it in the next few days, so I just need direction, basically.
And Blue Chip was the one that did all the work with actually putting together what would be needed, right?
Yes, exactly. And then I gave the number of fixtures to Starlight that Blue Chip provided, and they did not give me a quote yet.
And they had at least a month to get the
Yes.
quote together, and
Yes,
you in the
they did.
meantime. Okay.
Yes.
So my feeling is when people are trying to get business, they aren't on time. When they actually have the business, don't
Right.
expect anything any better.
Yep.
So.
And
it's just
that's my concern as well.
Yeah. All right. Any comments from the rest of the committee?
So you recommend going with Blue Light?
Well, I wanted to hear what other
Yeah.
people have to say.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. They had our last meeting was a month ago. They had a month to
Yes.
get something to us, and they knew the meeting was today. They missed the deadline.
Yep. And I told them,
They didn't have to come up with
Yeah,
a
they
plan.
didn't have to come up
They
with
just
a
had to
plan.
copy what somebody else did.
Right, and
So,
price.
yeah.
Right.
Yes, basically. They did tell me, like, I contacted them in the middle of February, like February 12th, I think it was. I contacted them and said, do you have anything for me yet? They said no, but they would definitely have it before the meeting. And he said maybe even sooner. So that didn't happen.
All
I
right,
expressed my disappointment to them today as well.
okay. So yeah, my thought is to just move forward with blue chip.
Yeah.
Everybody else, any other comments?
I agree.
Okay, there you go.
That's
Thank
what I'll
you,
do then.
Gary.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item I have up is the summer capital projects approval. Reason for this, there's two items actually, which are, there's between 12 and 14 week build time for the Springfield rooftops. So that takes us into the summer, pretty close to being into the summer. The other one is the Palms Control. These are both capital projects, by the way. The other one is the Palms Controls for the HVAC system over there. Again, that's getting materials and everything in it and getting contractors. So I'm just asking for approval to give them a sign off on the quotes. And the quotes are under what I had budgeted in the capital projects.
What was the
There's a
first one?
question on the controls.
Yes,
The new controls that will be going in the auditorium,
yes,
they're taking that into account.
yes.
Good.
Yes, they would be for the new units that are put in there. I'm sorry, first,
What was your first project?
this rooftops at Springfield for the library and the office area.
When you say that, when you say rooftop, sorry, I'm sitting really low. Are we literally talking about roofing or are we talking about HVAC
I'm
systems?
sorry, HVAC system
Okay.
on the rooftop.
The units at the auditorium are any good? The ones that are replacing,
At the middle school?
Yeah.
At
they're
the,
originals?
yeah,
We didn't replace them in the last 20 years.
the only thing, 35 years.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Did well.
35 years.
You get your money's worth.
Al, you said both projects are below the cost that was included in the 26-27 capital project budget, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
And were either of these items, did they go out to bid or
All of
these
these
are
are
just?
CoStar, I'm sorry.
They're all CoStar.
Everything's CoStar, yeah. So the Springfield rooftops are from EBS, Engineered Building Systems, they're York Systems, and the contractor, which is Tri-County, Tri-County are also a CoStar's contractor. And then the controls, Ecotrol, who we've been using for years, are also a CoStar's company.
Okay.
Plus another 4 million. Or is that next year?
No, the Palms Controls I have in this year's budget, I had budgeted 800,000 to do everything. This is gonna be the phase one, which is gonna do all your main areas, all your, large HVAC things, not the classroom units. That would be stage two, but it came in at 465,000. And that's getting your whole new system. And then all your air handlers for, both both the chiller systems and the air handlers for like the cafeteria and the art rooms, the library, all your bigger units.
So did you say that was 465 for the Palms?
Yes.
And what's the number on the Springfield?
148,000. I had 158,000 in the,
Okay.
on the capital projects.
So Al, if the committee recommends approving these two HVAC systems, the controls and the rooftop units, then both contracts will be on the March something board agenda for approval?
Yes. And then we can sign off and then they can start basically it's a letter of intent is what they're looking for
Right.
because of the long build time for, especially the units, rooftop units for Springfield.
Right, okay. All right, any comments from the committee?
The controls at the middle school for the HVAC, how does that How does the auditorium factor in? Is that a totally
It'll-
separate system or is
it'll be-
that gonna be?
It'll be all, right now we have a pneumatic system, which is way out and antiquated. So this is gonna be the backnet system for the whole school eventually. But it's gonna do all the new units that we're putting in the auditorium, the units for the exploratory wing, the units for the cafeteria, the units for the library, all of the bigger areas.
Okay.
Okay. And it can just be added on to, with classrooms.
Might be done over the summer.
I'm sorry,
Is that done over the summer when the
Yes.
kids aren't here?
their idea is to get this work also is to have it done over the summer, that's why.
That's why.
You want to get going now, yeah?
So we get contractors and supplies.
All right, any other questions for the people behind me that I can't see?
This is not a proprietary Johnson Controls system.
I'm surprised you're still running on the pneumatics.
Yeah.
I was in healthcare changing that stuff out 35 years ago.
I think 1991 is probably the last year that they ever put pneumatics
Yeah,
in.
you got it in 89, right? Or 90.
Okay, the committee recommend approval?
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so the rest of my items are informational. The treatment plant project is, we had a pre-construction meeting last Tuesday, the 17th. And right now, we're just going over the submittals for all the equipment, tanks, et cetera, for the project. So that's moving along.
Permits are, with the township are all in?
Yeah, that,
I mean,
most of them were through DEP, but yes,
Okay.
everything's in.
all right.
Okay, great.
Okay. Tinicum water tank, which I brought up at the fiscal last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we have a tentative schedule for replacing that on, it's either this Saturday possibly or next Saturday. And they say they can get it done in a day. The tank has been secured, the contractor has that. And their part of the work is complete, removing the old one, disposal of the old tank, installation of the new tank. I think Saul had a question as far as the warranty on it. They say the lifespan is 15 to 20 years. There's no other, other tanks.
What kind of tank are we talking about?
It's a poly tank, 1,500 gallon poly,
1,500 gallon for water?
yeah, for pot water.
Potable water.
It's not pressurized though.
No, it's pressurized, well, not the tank.
The jockey pumps out.
Jockey pumps, yeah, keep the pressure into the school.
I got to land Mr. Farmer, really do too. There's 1,500 gallon tanks in there for $700, brand new.
That ain't the price you're gonna see for those tanks, guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, it's.
I think cattle tanks might be a little different from. Just a-
That's still a good price.
All right, thank you for the update.
Okay. And the Duramax emergency generator, the bid opening is this coming Friday, 2 days from now. So I don't really have any more, we had our pre-bid, meeting, which was held on February 13th. We actually had, 10 to 12 contractors there, so,
For the generator?
for the generator Duramax, yeah.
What was the spec that they put on that? Because I know that was in conversation about how that was gonna be spec'd out.
How big is it? 50?
I should have brought the paperwork with me, but, the additional, so there's also gonna be adding lighting to the school, which is currently not there, bring us up to code, so, it's more than just a generator.
So it's covered life safety aspects for the building.
Yes. Yeah, so that we can, actually, the main thing was so that we can operate in a, continue to operate if we lose power,
That you don't have to close the school.
that we have to close the school. The biggest issue we have right now is water. We don't have any water. There's those pumps, but this is all figured into this.
Would really pass.
Okay,
That's
great.
diesel or LP?
Diesel.
Diesel.
Yeah. I believe it's a 100-gallon deli tank. That's what we expect anyway.
That's only a day's worth.
What's
I
that,
haven't decided it.
That's only a day's worth.
100 gallon?
I don't know how large the generator is.
Yeah.
I know my big tractor is 100 horsepower, it's running 6 gallons an hour.
Jim, that's why you put the 100-gallon water tank.
So the high school emergency generator?
Next to the emergency generator at high school, that unit was removed for replacement. I'm waiting on a price for the actual repair. It's gonna need new windings and a new diode bridge. They were all burned out. The company was, and thanks for that information too, Jim, Longo, rebuilds all kinds of different generators and stuff. So that'll be a savings for a district because the motor itself is in good shape.
So the motors, the engine's still.
The engine's, yeah, the engine's fine, yeah.
Great.
Before we end, I just had one thing I wanted to add from the fish tour that I forgot to mention, but I did include in the minutes that the trout will be released in the spring in the area of Ringing Rocks. So we'll let you know when that is if you want to come out for the trout release.
Not in their cash pond where they sell them from, is it?
I told you all I know.
Is that a central value stream of energy then?
All I know is in the spring, in the area of Ringing Rocks, the trout will be released, and I included that in the minutes.
Oak Street and Rapp Street now.
Sorry, I'll just.
No.
I don't know.
So our next meeting will be March 25th, 2026. And call for adjournment.
Okay,
All right,
return.
thanks.
Thank you.